Chapter 2 is not an easy chapter for me, but let's dive in. Welcome to Everything Love and Everything God. When the air ran out. A literary reflection on a letter never sent. There are moments in life that leave no photographs, no traces, just a quiet ache tucked deep within the folds of memory. They live in the in-between places, between breath and silence, between despair and surrender. This was one of those moments. I remember sitting before a glowing screen, intending to write what I believed would be my final letter. The cursor blinked patiently, unaware of the storm swelling inside me. Words refused to come. They lodged themselves somewhere between the lump in my throat and the weight in my chest. It was supposed to be a short message, just a few lines, but my tears blurred the light, and my hands trembled too much to type. The letter was never addressed, not quite to anyone in particular. Perhaps it was aimed for my children. Perhaps it was meant for the one who had, over time, chipped away at my soul with words never shouted but always sharp. Or maybe it was for no one at all, just a final whisper in a world too loud to hear me. The room around me began to shrink. The walls leaned in like silent witnesses to a slow unraveling. There was air, I'm sure, but I couldn't feel it. My lungs refused to cooperate, as though they too had grown weary of the daily charade. I had felt this once before, a suffocation not of the body, but of the spirit. An inner tightening, like life was flipping through invisible cracks. I stood unsteadily and crossed the room that had once been mine, my childhood sanctuary. And then, suddenly, the wind touched my face. It wasn't loud, it didn't scream freedom, it simply was. And in that moment, I breathed again, a real breath, and with it, a quiet exhale that carried years of exhaustion. And then came the questions. The ones that haunt you when no one else is around. What will people say? What will the story be when I'm no longer here? I could already hear the whispers forming. A passing headline, a hushed funeral conversation, a distant echo of a life misunderstood. But it wasn't them I was worried about. It was the ones who would be left behind with nothing but questions. The ones who had called me mama. The ones who still needed my strength, even if I had none to give. And yet I feared they would grow up in the shadow of a silence they would never fully understand. I feared, too, that the one who had wounded me would feel nothing, that perhaps my exit would be more convenient than my presence, that the pain inflicted upon me could be quietly buried beneath carefully chosen words and titles. I feared he would rewrite the narrative with a few polished lines about stress, illness, fragility, none of which told the truth. But as the wind moved the curtains like a breath of heaven, another voice entered the room. It did not speak audibly. It moved like oil upon the waters of my soul, a whisper, a question. Is this truly the end of your story? And for the first time in a long time, I did not know the answer. I sat back on the edge of my bed, not yet whole, but no longer drowning. I looked around the room, not with the eyes of someone saying goodbye. God was not yet done. There is a verse that would later become a mirror to that moment. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. I didn't feel saved then, but I was being held, not in a dramatic, earth-shaking way. No angels, no visions, just stillness, just God. And that's how I met God, El Roy, the one that sees me. See you in the next episode.